Hey everyone, how you doing? Welcome back to another episode of McCall Media TV Live, whereby in today's episode, I'm going to be joined by a lovely lady from over the pond. Yes, I have got my first YouTube collaboration with another fellow YouTuber and digital marketer and expert in the world of all things to do with digital sales funnels and things like that. So I have got the lovely Eddie, who I'm just going to be introducing to you guys on screen in just a moment. But don't forget, my channel is live across all my social media platforms. That's on my Facebook pages, through Periscope and Twitter, and of course on YouTube. So without further ado, okay, so we have the lovely is it Eddiana? I've forgotten how to pronounce your name because
Eddiana. Yeah.
Eddiana, yeah, I know it's Eddie, but that worked in my head. So we got the lovely Eddiana Rosen with us today, who is a lady after my own heart, shall we say, kind of tinkers in all sorts of things to do with lead generation and digital, like online media and traffic. So how are you doing, Eddie? How's life over the pond?
I am doing very well. Thank you so much, Angela, for having me on your channel today. I am so excited. And hello to all of your viewers and everyone watching the replay as well. So excited to come on today and talk to you guys about LinkedIn strategy and how you can utilize that amazing untapped platform to really help you with lead generation on your business, whether you have a coaching business or a service based business, which could be sales and copywriting and VA services. Literally, LinkedIn is amazing for all of those services. So I cannot wait to dive in and tell you all about it.
Oh, I'm really super stoked to have you here as well, because I have to be honest with you, LinkedIn is one of those things that I have basically, like I said to you offline a moment ago, I've been collecting people on my LinkedIn profile now for a decade, and I just don't do much with it. I've got very much more proactive over the last couple of months, shall we say, but really as a lead generation tool, I mean, I don't dare say it, but I'm a bit more of a Facebook girl. So it's not something I've put a lot of time and patience into. So I'm really stoked to have you here today talking to me about LinkedIn as a generation. So I'm going to let you fire away. Over to you. So you go about explaining how some of the strategies that you have in mind.
Yeah, and it's so interesting you mentioned that you're a Facebook gal, because Gary Vee, which I'm sure a lot of people know who he is, mentions and talks about LinkedIn as, in his opinion, is the Facebook of 2010. So I totally agree with that, in the sense that even though we have almost 700 million users, active users in the platform, only 1% is currently creating content. 1% out of all those people is creating content. And outside of that 1%, there's very also limited people of who's creating consistent content and high quality content, original content. And so that's the reason why sometimes I feel like people don't really realize the amount of numbers that are in there and why it's such an untapped platform. So the fact that there's only 1%, the chances of you really making it as soon as you get in there with the right strategies, are immensely. Like, as soon as you get in there and you really are genuine about who you're engaging with and you really putting out the content that's going to provide value for your audience, I mean, you don't even have to sell, because I haven't sold one thing on LinkedIn. I actually just get DMs of people asking if I want to go live, if I want to go on a podcast interview, if I can tell them more about my services. And all I post is actually just valuable educational content, sometimes on the entertaining piece with a little bit of storytelling on it. The majority of my content is stuff that I know will be serving people who might actually need my services. And because there's a lot more visibility on that platform, which I'm going to break down in a little bit as of how that works. But the algorithm there is just so generous. They do have the option for you to run ads, but I have not had to run any ads, and I don't know if anybody's successfully utilizing the platform having to use ads. So it is purely organic reach that you can get.
Which I think is what a lot of people watching this is going to be interested in. I know that for me, for myself, is like I'm looking for those little golden nuggets of opportunity that I can go away and quite easily implement without too much stress in my day-to-day activity. So yeah, I'm hoping that's what we get.
Yeah, definitely. So the way that the algorithm right now works is it does have the quirkiness sometimes of, it's timely. You have to have a certain amount of engagement with a certain amount of time. So when it comes to LinkedIn, video is king. And even though a lot of storytelling and text posts, similar to what you would do on a Twitter, they do very well as well. And those are the ones that have done pretty well for me. Video does, we're doing video right now. Video is just, there's nothing that could compare to it when it comes to the trust building activities that you are doing with your audience, because you have audio, you have visual, and you also have the amazing connection of people really getting to know who you are through a camera, right? Your manners and how you move and how excited you are because you are showing emotion. And when it comes to the emotion piece, that's really have to do with your LinkedIn success. So when you really are raw and authentic, and I know that that's going to sound super cliche, but on LinkedIn, the more you give, the more you receive. And the algorithm will actually reward you for engaging on other people's content. If you want to get on LinkedIn and you probably still have a job and are nervous about people seeing what you're doing on the platform, you can actually go on other people's content and engage with them. And you get points for that on the algorithm. So people actually get to see what you're commenting, right? So let's say that I have an influencer on LinkedIn who has 500,000 followers.
Okay.
And I actually have a person that I can mention. So she's a career coach who has been on LinkedIn for quite a bit now, has close to 600,000 followers. Her comments and likes on my content will appear on her 600,000 followers account.
Right. Okay. I see where you're going with this. So what you're basically saying is, obviously, as a credibility and an endorsement to you, when you have somebody of that influence with that sort of, following and tribe on their platform, when they comment on your posts and engage with you, that is actually still resonating on the timeline or whatever they call it in LinkedIn with regards to the feed, so that their community can see that they're engaging with you.
Correct. So the way that it works is that they have, when it comes to content creation on LinkedIn, you have a platform that's called, or a column that's called All Activities.
Okay.
All Activities is anything that you do within your platform, whether you like a post, whether you commented on a post, whether you shared somebody else's post. And then we have articles. Then we have posts, which is your actual content that you are posting to your feed. Yes. And then we have documents, which I'm going to be breaking that down a little bit as of what type of content you can create. But
I was going to say, one of the queries that I think I see float around quite a lot is that people don't know whether they should put their efforts into building their LinkedIn page or their LinkedIn profile. And from my own little dabbles, shall we say, and playing with the algorithm, I've got great results, but I've also been part of an engagement pod, so I can understand the engagement strategy. But I haven't had that success on my page. I can only generate that success through my own endeavors as a person, as a profile on LinkedIn. So I was kind of hoping as well at some point, with regards to what you're explaining today, you might dive a little bit deeper and shed some more light on that situation as well.
Yeah, definitely. So let me just kind of just close off with the content piece. So on LinkedIn, the reason why I love LinkedIn so much is because there's so much versatility within the platform. You can create video, you can post just regular text, you can do pictures, you can do articles, which is an evergreen type of content similar to a blog. You can also have newsletters. Now they've just come up with LinkedIn Stories, which is not available everywhere yet. It's just still in beta testing. You also have the LinkedIn Live, which is also in beta testing, but you can apply to become a live streamer on there. And then you
Yes, yeah. Okay, so I'm still waiting for that application to go through. It's driving up. I'm on my third attempt at the moment. I know that one quite well.
And I'm not sure why they have been testing it for so long, because LinkedIn Live came out in beginning of 2019, so it's been on the platform for a while, and those are all of the things that you can actually create content on. The good thing about LinkedIn is that once you find a group of people that you really are engaged with, and that you actually give back by actually engaging with their content, these people, you don't even have to ask them. That reciprocation that they have is amazing. And you can't find that anywhere else. Like sometimes just people fall off the wagon and they just don't have that consistency. But when it comes to LinkedIn, you have that tribe of people that really, once they connect with your content, you don't even have to ever mention that you've posted something. They are actually watching and going to your feed every day to make sure that they have engaged or shared somehow or tagged other people to come and see your content. And that is where the success really comes in and why you can actually grow so quickly. And I know that sometimes people say like, oh, LinkedIn is dry and it's only for job seekers. But it is right now the #1 platform for B2B activity. And 80%, according to a study that just came out, 80% of sales from B2B actually come through LinkedIn. And that's actually mind-blowing to me because, people all the time are boasting about, Instagram and Facebook and blah, blah, blah. But in reality, LinkedIn does have a lot of, because I guess it's the versatility of it, of how much you can do with it. And to answer your question in regards to personal profiles and actual pages, the algorithm does benefit personal profiles best just because of the personal branding aspect of things. Because in reality, think about it, when LinkedIn was created, it was created for one purpose of connecting recruiters with job seekers.
Yes.
And so job seekers were going to have to create their own personal brand to be able to be attractive to those recruiters.
Okay,
and so,
makes sense. Yeah.
And so the company was kind of like an afterthought for actual employers to have a storefront, to be able to tell employers, this is what I offer. But they, in reality, their loyalty was more towards job seekers, for them to have a place to network, to meet people, to have job opportunities. But as time went on, this came much more than just a networking platform, and now has transformed into one of the most powerful social media networks for marketers and business owners. And so there is the possibility of you growing a page for your business. But I recommend that you first concentrate on growing your personal page, because from there you can drive traffic up to your business page.
I have to say, I think as well, the biggest thing that I'm taking away from my kind of couple of months of sort of, let's say, concentrated LinkedIn efforts is the fact that actually people are contacting me through LinkedIn, but they've actually found me through my YouTube channel. But some reason they are not using or necessarily engaging with me directly on the YouTube. But pretty much all the clients I currently have on board at the moment with my business have all come because they have connected with my YouTube videos, but they wanted to then talk to me. They didn't know how to. And instead of churning to what I thought would have been Facebook and messaging me, they haven't done. They have all come through a direct message that's been some sort of engagement through LinkedIn. So for me, that whole process, LinkedIn has suddenly become that kind of like old-fashioned Rolodex, with your business cards. And what I'm trying to do with my strategy at the moment, obviously, is go on there and do something daily. But I am trying to share at least 4 or 5 posts that I think my audience will enjoy the benefit of, because there's some sort of value or educational component to it that I know my business to business community would enjoy or benefit from. And I'm trying to share that so that I'm also serving my community by sharing other people's content. And I'm finding that's actually bringing then more and more people requesting to connect with me. And I haven't connected with someone out of my own efforts now for like months. I've got like literally every day as I'm connecting in, there's like another 3 or 4 requests, and I'm like, where are these people finding me? And I think that what you've just said with regards to the personal profile and how it's engaging and how people see, it's all sort of like those light bulb moments going on, making sure, making sense and seeing how it works. So yeah, I think at the moment it's just an untapped resource, and I just don't think I'm using it even as much as I should be.
Yeah. So I think, let's just break that down, what you just said, 2 layers deeper. And again, it takes a platform to grow a platform, right? So people are finding you on YouTube. But the beauty of LinkedIn is that for some reason, psychologically, when you have a LinkedIn profile, it makes you more real. It's not just an account, because if you are, you can build a account on Instagram full of quotes and people will probably never know who you are.
Yes.
You can do that on LinkedIn.
No.
You have to put a face to the name. You have to have some sort of background when it comes to experience or education, and it just makes it more tangible, and it's an actual person, which people tend to connect with that a little bit more, because, that's what people all the time talk in the biz is, have a personal brand, because people like to know who's the person behind the brand. and the personal piece is you. And that is why LinkedIn is such a powerful networking piece, not only for lead generation, but also for a lot of collaboration. Majority of my collabs have come from LinkedIn because people know that I'm an actual person. People get to see what my corporate background was and why am I the expert in what I'm talking about. Because to give a little bit more of a background story on my utilization of LinkedIn, I got on LinkedIn back in 2013, I believe, and I've used it on and off for different purposes, right? I first used it for my job seeking opportunities, and then I became a recruiter. So I used it to find candidates for
the exact reason that it existed. Yeah, okay.
Exactly. And then when I decided to go full time on my business, then I turned it into a hub for connecting with others, because sometimes on LinkedIn, I concentrate more on having that credibility of the audience. And I don't care so much if all of those people watching me are leads, because the opportunity for me to get in front of other audiences through collaborations oftentimes actually bring in more value to my business, because instead of me selecting 2 leads out of 10 people, I can talk to one person for PR, and that person maybe have thousands of people who can actually become leads of mine. So that's
the quality of the people that they also know and their tribes and communities. I'm with you.
Exactly. So that is the way that people should be thinking about it. Sometimes it's like, oh, lead generation. That's great, because we're in business to obviously attract leads and make sales. But until you actually really care about what it is that you're actually doing and the information that you're presenting out there, not only to attract people, because that's just very transactional, right?
Yeah.
But also to build that community and that networking piece that go beyond the years, because sometimes, especially if you're a service provider or a coach, you have a relationship with somebody that has an end date, has an expiration date on it. When it comes to networking and really having those relationships, for example, you and I, it'll be 5 years from now and we're still working together and collaborating and talking about, your expertise on my channel, which is coming really soon.
That's this time, next week, obviously, but you're going to do things differently to me. I live stream, that's my thing, but yeah. So that's cool.
And, this is the power of social media and the power of really connecting and finding people who have the same like-minded mentality as you. And, people who are in your network could probably benefit from what I'm talking about today. And next week, people in my network can benefit about what you have to say.
Hopefully so. I mean, that's I've just been looking at keeping one eye on the counter up in the top corner. So just for those people that I can see that are online at the moment and watching, if you do have any questions for Eddie, you can just put them. If you was to comment on YouTube or whatever platform you're on, it will ping up on my screen. So just quickly to dive in there while we go back to that point. But we have had a little hello, ladies, from with Lady T. So that came in just a few minutes ago, but I didn't want to stop you in your stride. So if you've got any questions for Eddie and you've been watching us today, thank you for your support, obviously. Do continue to keep watching us because we're not done yet, but then obviously just throw your questions up and I will interrupt Eddie and add them to our screens. But yes, going back to the whole collaboration thing, I mean, let's be real here. In traditional business relationships and networking and things like that, you and I would never cross paths. We would never know that you or I would, there's just no way our worlds would connect with one another. But actually, when we got talking about this collaboration and you were like, oh, I'm in this situation, I've got like a toddler, and I'm like, oh my God, I was there. So, just 5 years ago with my own girls, and we've got such a lot of synergy, rapport and ethoses about how we approach business has been so similar that we're like, oh my God, this is just crazy. It's like, a lady after our own hearts kind of thing. And I think, like you said, even though we are a pond apart, for want of a better term, and we're obviously working with slightly different demographics because of our client bases and where we are, this synergy that we are obviously growing, and then obviously you'll go and do with other collaborations as well as me, it will help us build a tribe and a community that actually spreads beyond our borders and places we'd never reach, and hopefully open up doors and opportunities we would also have only ever imagined being something that we could do in the future, as opposed to actually becoming more of a reality. I'm just gonna stop. I've just got another message come in. We've got, would you suggest creating a separate page? Oh, good question. My old LinkedIn account does have a relevance to my channel. So I think with channel, she's probably talking about YouTube because the comments come in through YouTube. So I'll, as the expert, I'll let you fire away with this one then, please, Eddie.
Yeah, that's a great question, by the way. Thank you for asking. When it comes to LinkedIn, I guess my follow-up question for you would be, are you currently at a corporate job? Because I know that sometimes people are scared of putting in their side hustles or whatever they're doing on social media for their bosses to see or colleagues to see. In that case, I actually recommend, in either way, I recommend you just stick to your own profile. It's very different than what you would do on Instagram. So your profile in reality is a way to just show your professional background, if you have any, your educational pieces, any type of certifications. But you can actually always revamp your existing profile, just because you don't want to lose the connections that you already have or any type of building activities that you have had to connect with those people. And also considering that LinkedIn is very strict on utilizing your own name and your legal name, it would be confusing to have two profiles with the same name. So what I would recommend is, if you're still at your 9 to 5 and you do not want anybody to know that you're doing a side hustle, what I recommend is just to create a business account connected to your personal account and only interact with your business account so that nobody can see your profile being interactive with other accounts. That is my suggestion. I do not believe that is a smart idea to create a brand new one. You can actually integrate your story about your channel, your YouTube channel, within your existing personal profile just by adding it to your experience or adding it to your about page. You can talk about your professional experience and say that I also have a hobby of being a YouTuber and this is the reason why I do it. Just because your about section and headline are SEO optimized, and whatever it is that you want to be found for, I recommend you just sparkle all of those words around your profile. I hope that answered the question.
I think you've answered it quite well. It's actually been something that's quite sort of touched my world quite a bit recently as well. And I think really when you are trying to sort of, I mean, let's face it, a lot of businesses do start up, especially with what's going on in the world at the moment. They've had the opportunity to work from home. They are trying to maybe juggle 2 or 3 different things. And, you know, sometimes it might be just as honest to have an open conversation with your employer and to say, look, you know, this is what I'm thinking of doing, and I will, you know, I'm not going to be mentioning you in this, that and the other, but this is what will be happening on my own social profiles. Because at the end of the day, your social profiles are actually your profiles. I mean, yes, they're owned by the social companies, but your employer, so long as you are not talking about your employer, mentioning any of their products or services, or having any of that kind of correlation that they could pick up in and feed back from or bounce off of, then to be honest with you, what you do on your channels is obviously your choice. There is the element of obviously any problems that you would necessarily inflict on yourself if it's like maybe a conflict of interest, but I think realistically, from my own perspective and things and people that I know in my community at the moment, most people have been focusing a lot more on just providing information that kind of is more generic and top level as opposed to specific service-based details, because then they're not giving away the fact that they're actually earning an income from a second opportunity, if that makes sense. So it's more of a blogging or a vlogging style to bring their awareness of their channel up, or in this particular case, their LinkedIn page or profile. And as long as you are giving value, but you're not necessarily servicing, you know, there's no real issues that your employer would come up with like a conflict of interest to maybe give you some kind of stress factor. I'm trying to, do you see where I'm coming from with this? So yeah, it's just one of those things that I think you need to play your situation a little bit closer to the ground, as it were. But yes, definitely, don't not do what you want to do because that's your passion. Definitely.
Yeah. So I just wanted to add to that. I actually was side hustling for 2 years on LinkedIn. So, and I totally agree with you. It's definitely a personal choice, but the steps that I actually took, because I was still working for an employer as well as building my own personal brand, when the employer is progressive enough and they actually are, you know, good people, they will actually be super happy for you to build your own personal brand. As an employee myself, if I were to look at a company, that is attractive to me, to see that companies support people to build their own personal brand. So what I would do more logistically is to, if you have a good relationship with your boss, first of all, get informed. Go read your employee handbook, or make sure that you are really familiarizing yourself with what the guidelines around moonlighting is, or if you are allowed to actually, to have a side hustle on the side without being a conflict of interest. So if you're offering a service that's totally different than what your employer actually does, there shouldn't really be any issues with it. But always the honesty piece of coming out and say, listen, this is what I'm thinking of doing. This is what I do on the weekends and at home after work. And I want to utilize LinkedIn as a platform to really start connecting with people, and being very careful by also saying, I will never actually do anything personal during work hours. And these are only things that I do on my off time. And also be very careful with the topics that you choose to talk on, because obviously, you are quote unquote representing this company at this point. And I think the reason why they are hesitant to allow you to do that is because they are afraid of you damaging their personal brand as some sort of talking about political issues or inappropriate issues that they might actually think is inappropriate. So as long as you are, staying at a service level, and that's what I used to do. I used to be a career coach for those 2 years while I was doing my side hustle. I was very surface on the sense that I would criticize hiring processes because it had to do a lot with what I did for my employer. So I would just do tips of for a resume to be looked at by an actual human, this is what you have to do for it to get through the ATS system. And those are the things that I would talk about now that I'm my own employee. I'm more liberal about what I choose to talk about on my platforms, because at the end of the day, in reality, if you think about it, when you are building your own personal brand, where you are working for someone else, you are in essence bringing attention to that employer as well. Because if you're somebody who's high level, a leader in your actual industry as a side hustler, you can actually bring a lot of attention to your current employer, and you can give them a lot of good publicity. Exactly. I've seen a lot of success with people who utilize LinkedIn to elevate their own personal brand, and they also have a really good taste on elevating their own employer personal brand. And they have gotten deals from that. They have gotten PR opportunities from that. They have been able to hire the best talent because people are attractive to those type of policies. Yes. And companies act that way. Not all companies are like that.
No, not all companies, but those with their heads screwed on, let's say, will understand the opportunity that their employees are presenting by upping their own profiles and becoming more influential. Definitely. Right. Yeah. Just so I can see the time's ticking on a little bit. We've got a couple of other comments and things coming in that I'll dive into in just a moment. But so just to bring the conversation back onto like the LinkedIn strategies, if you was to give me like 3 top tips, as it were, I'm putting you right on the spot here, and I have not prepped you for this at all. What would you say if you was to say to anyone, if you're not doing this on LinkedIn right now, you should at least do bam, bam, bam. Go for it.
Engage with others. You have to comment on people's things, whether it is 5 to 7 people that you can do on a daily basis. If you're not creating actual content yourself, that is the bare minimum that you should be doing to start building out that relationship with people. The second tip of advice that I would give, start really sending out personalized messages to people that you see are authorities in their field, people that you could potentially reach out to have a collaboration. Do not pitch right away. Please do not do that. Build that engagement first with them, and give them a compliment. People love to be complimented on their stuff. So if you've read an article.
Oh, you've just paused on me, and I'm hoping, I hope you guys can still hear and see me. I don't know what is quite happening here with the internet connection, whether it's her end or my end, but it looks like we might have just lost Eddie a wee bit. My counter is still going, so I don't know if anyone is live and I don't know what to do because it's just gone, and I don't think we're going to get her back. I'll give her a second, but I think she was just in the middle of saying that second point, obviously, is we've covered the whole, you've got to engage. Second point, obviously, being that, you've got to be able to essentially bring your profile up and live. Oh, she can still hear me. Someone else. Oh, thank you very much, guys. I think it must be Eddie's connection. We must have just lost her, but thank you, whoever you are, for just giving me that little reassurance that I'm the one that's still live, because that's the only perils of doing something live. I think I'm going to give her a few more seconds just to see if we can get Eddie back. Oh no, we've lost the connection completely. Okay, so what I will say in that sense, okay, so just to wrap this up, because obviously we have been going on for a wee bit, almost a half an hour now. Eddie and I have obviously built this collaboration today, and as of next week, I'm actually going to be interviewed by Eddie about digital sales funnels and having your lead generation process on autopilot. So from my business's perspective, obviously all the time that you're engaging and you're chasing down leads, that's time, money and energy, whereby what you would like to do, or what I'd like my clients to do, is have that conveyor belt of leads coming in on autopilot, and you can almost cherry pick the ones that you want to engage with and meet with one-on-one. Now I can just hear, let me see, Eddie is just messaging me on Facebook. Can you let me back in? You're not showing on my screen. I can't. I'm really sorry. You've not popped back up on my screen. You need to collect. So give me 30 seconds. I might be able to get her back. There she is. Right, hang on. Yeah, okay, she's back. Oh, I just had to there, and I've not had to do that before. So I was just giving everybody a wee summary as to how we're going to do, our collaboration is working. And obviously that next week I'm going to be interviewed by you, and obviously all of those things. So you were in the middle of just giving us your 3 points. The first one was engagement. The second one has completely just gone out of my mind because I got flustered with you disappearing. So just recap.
Okay, yes. Yeah, so the first tip is definitely, really engage genuinely with people that you really like.
Yeah.
The second tip I had was to start connecting with people and reaching out, sending personalized DMs. And this goes with really actually taking the time to learn about that person, to read a piece of content that they've created that really resonated with you, that can actually be very beneficial to your own audience. And the second piece, the third piece, is to actually reshare that person's content and give your thought out leadership information on it. So if you've seen for example, this video would be a good example. If you were to put it on your LinkedIn profile, and yeah, I would reshare it and actually put a blurb of what I thought of the live stream, how grateful I was that you had me on your platform, and the key points that we spoke about, and why it's important for people to actually watch that. So that way I can involve my audience to actually have more eyeballs into your content, into your profile. And what's going to happen? Without me even having to ask, you're going to reciprocate with that, because you're going to say, oh, Eddiana is always supporting my content, like I want to do the same. And I've gotten that happen to me. And the one thing that I would say is remove expectations. When you are doing something like that on that platform, do not expect anything in return, because people don't owe you anything. No. So what I have been doing is, and again, I've actually had 2 big influencers who have been noticing me a lot in the platform. Why? Because I actually do resonate with the content quite a bit. I go onto their platform every single morning and I leave out a thoughtful comment. Thoughtful comment means like almost, I go overboard a little bit, but I actually write up to 100 words responding to the things that they're saying. And they even if you think that they have too many followers, they will notice you, because if you do it consistently enough, they will continue to see your name.
I'm just going to step in here and actually say this is actually a strategy that I've been teaching people to do on their YouTube channels in order to get engagement, because as we know, YouTube itself is quite a challenge to get the traction on these first early stages, like your channel and my channel are in at the moment. And one of the biggest things that I have, that engagement where you're giving that free advice, that basically endorsing what it is that somebody else has already posted about, and basically adding value to that original post, is getting you on the radar of that person, that author, whoever they may be, obviously in the LinkedIn environment, because you're basically crediting and endorsing what it is that they've already said. And obviously anybody that has that kind of positive feedback and that endorsement gets a little happy vibe about it. And of course that makes, it gets that person's name in your mind. And of course, if you do it tomorrow or the day after, that name is going to suddenly pop up and they'll be like, oh, Angela's commented again today, almost to the point they're like, well, why hasn't Angela commented today? What was wrong with my post? And that's when you actually can start opening up the doors for collaborations and so forth. And so, so I think that is a strategy. It doesn't just have to be a LinkedIn one, if you don't mind me saying. It works pretty much across the board. And it's basically one that I'm endorsing on the YouTube environment. But why I haven't been doing it so much on the LinkedIn, I don't know. I do the sharing and I do the engagement, but I haven't thought to bring it up to that level, shall we say, in the LinkedIn platform. I don't know why. It just hasn't happened for me, but I will be doing that. So one thing before we we sort of wrap this up today. Now, I know you've got a course. Do you want to take a few minutes just to quickly message your course? And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to throw a little banner up on screen so people know how to find out more about your LinkedIn training.
Yeah, thank you, Angela. Yes, so I actually will be launching it's a group coaching program that has the course component for the trainings on the back end. So it's going to be a 6-week program starting August 3rd of this year. And it's going to really take service providers, content creators, and new coaches through all of the strategies that I have learned throughout the years when it comes to really being an authority on LinkedIn and how to do it without really having to be salesy or showing up even every day. As long as you're actually engaging with other people with the strategies that I have been teaching my clients, you will have people knocking on your DMs. And on that actual link that you'll see, you'll be able to see screenshots of the things that my clients have been able to get from that particular strategies, as well as myself, how I'm able to really have thousands of views on my posts and have been able to attract people to actually send me messages on, I really love what you're doing. Can you get on my podcast? Can you come over to my video? Here's what we do. Here's some information. Let me know if you're interested. And it's not only about the leads, it's also about the collaborations. But also when you get that message of, can you tell me more about your program? Can you tell me more about how you can help me? That is also very, very amazing. And it's not just working for me, but it's working for my clients, which is why I was able to package all of those strategies and methods into that 6-week program.
I was just going to say 6 weeks, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, so that you can achieve the same results, if not better. I actually have a client who's killing it right now on LinkedIn, and she is actually doing amazing. She booked out her whole group program without even selling it at once, just by showing up on LinkedIn and telling people what the benefits of the program was. She sold it within a week.
Oh, well, that's really, well, obviously she's been nurturing her tribe for a wee while, but that's awesome. So just real quickly, so if you want to catch up with Eddie and find out more about it, the link is going across the bottom of the screen at the moment. So you need to go to her website /LinkedIn for bosses. Okay, so I'm just going to sort of start winding things down. If anybody watching at the moment does have any other final questions, now's the time to sort of ping them over to me. But otherwise, Eddie, it has been absolutely fabulous having you on my channel. We are going to have to do this again, maybe in sort of like 6 months or something, maybe do it like a follow-up to see how things are going. But I've had a blast, even though we had that little technical hitch there where you suddenly disappeared and I'm like, I had nothing prepped, but that's the first time it's happened to me, so I will make a mental note for the future. But yes, and I believe, so next week I'm talking to you and that's going to be filmed and then you're going to edit as one of your normal videos. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes, that is correct. Again, thank you so much for having me. I am so appreciative. And, you know, we just have to laugh it off. When it comes to technology, things happen and the unexpected is bound.
I think it gives us personality.
You know, I am a true believer, and I actually live my life that way. When life gives you lemon, you just make a lemonade out of it. And
exactly,
you can only control how you react to things. You know, you can't really control the internet going out or the whatever it is that we're using today not really working how we wanted it. So, you know, just laughing it off and, you know, having a good laugh about it, it's definitely the way to go.
It's definitely been fun. Yes, no worries.
Yes, I cannot wait to have you over on the channel as well. It's going to be a blast, amazing. I absolutely love your energy and cannot wait to put it on my channel too. And for me, I'm a little bit old.
I will send you the link. I don't think YouTube won't allow us to put the same video on 2 channels, but what I'll do is obviously I'll send you the link and then you can put it in a playlist and link to it that way, as like maybe your collaborations or something. But yes, and vice versa next week. So I've just had an absolute blast. I can't wait to speak to you again next week. And for everybody that has been watching, thank you very much for your support, because obviously as a small channel, it does take a little bit of time and energy and a little bit of effort to get ourselves up and the ball rolling. So thank you very much. And that's it. So that kind of brings me to the end of today's live broadcast, as it were. If you haven't already, please do subscribe to my channel. Click that bell to stay notified. I will speak to you next week and probably in a second just after this when we finish, Eddie. And that's it. Thank you very much for watching, guys.
Bye.